super stressed out in the workday, you go, oh, or if you go hang out with some of your coworkers, you're like, oh, okay, this stuff affects people.
Right.
Even if it's little things that people go through, we may take it for granted, but it kind of like it's like how would I describe it? The way I like to look at it for myself. I can't say for you. For me, it was like little tiny cuts. Little things are little tiny cuts. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like you said, having a mental day, having a day where you knowing and doing that knowingly, that's the important thing. When I did it, I didn't do that. I just worked and I just said, turn it all off. Turn everything, all the emotions, all the feelings, turn it off. And then what it would do is it would blossom in different ways, more negative. And use myself as an example because, once upon a time, I was way more of an angry person. It would burst out in these little bursts and sometimes big bursts. And it had a lot to do with holding all that anxiety in because it was like carrying around like sandbags and somebody kept filling up the bags. You'd spill a little out and then somebody would go, okay, you spilled 1 pound. Let's put in 2 pounds. Mm-hmm. And you spill out 2 pounds. Let's put in 4 pounds. And it just kept adding up over time. So I did realize like that's the one thing that I'm always more conscious about and more compassionate. It made me a better, if I were to go back into that field, I'd be more compassionate to how the patient is feeling. And that's the weird balance of feeling what the patient's feeling to do your job well, but not be too empathetic so that it breaks you down during the process.
Right. And you have to also keep in mind, you were on your journey as a new paramedic. There are things you saw that most people didn't see, but this is all adding up to your journey. And, let's say you stayed as a paramedic for 10 years, can you have any idea where you would be at mentally?
I was a paramedic for over 10 years.
Okay. Hi, my name is Dean. I just met him in the bus station. All right, fine.
Yeah.
20 years.
10's a good number. That's fine. I didn't use it the whole 10. I didn't use the whole 10. So, okay.
Okay. There you go.
But it was the EMT before that.
Exactly.
So in total, I would say as an EMT and paramedic, total 20 years.
Okay. Make it 20 to 40 years just to
what the fuck?
Let's just say your journey, you added on different levels. You're exposed to different things. I work in a facility right now where death is a norm, but it doesn't make it easy.
Right.
When you care for somebody, you have like a bond with them.
Of course.
I called you and I said, Carlos, I think I'm turning into a ghoul because one of my patients died and I felt nothing.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like that.
That happens though. Like
right.
you see them, they're people and you go, okay, this is a person, but you have a detachment from it. And there's a thing that you can be detached. And it's much easier to be detached from a person who's lived their life and lived a long life from being detached from if you're dealing in emergency response or, anything in the emergency field and you're dealing with children.
Mm-hmm. Children especially.
And that's children. That's the hard thing because it's like, wait a minute. Now you're like, wait a minute. This is a little person that had so much more life ahead of them, blah, 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 all this other stuff. So it could get a little crazy. That being said, nothing works out exactly the way anybody plans, but you have to try to adapt. And right. I think that's my takeaway from this whole thing is like doing anything in the emergency field, just learning how to adapt and seeing and having self-realization of where you're at that moment.
Critical thinking.
And that helps you in dealing with all that anxiety, seeing what triggers you, what triggers the anxiety. And then when you can see kind of like, remember you played Frogger or what was that game? Spy Hunter or any of those games where you can see the car coming as you're going up the road. You see the car coming, to move to the right, move to the left. And it helps you, navigate that level of stress that can come from just working in the medical field in general. And I think this is very helpful to have that, self-awareness. The macho mentality is shit. It works for nothing. But if you have a mentality of understanding that we're more complicated than just being fucking macho or anything like that. Like, I think that it's way more beneficial, and it can help you to self-realize this is causing anxiety. I got to do something different.
Yeah, this is.
If I'm sorry, real quick, just at that, if I go home and I'm fucking pounding back, 6 beers, or the first thing I go to is my liquor cabinet because my day is too rough, I got to think of something different.
Exactly. Because if in the healthcare, it's going to be like that a lot. And that means your health, your physical and mental health are going to deteriorate.
Yeah.
You have to find something to replace it. Oddly enough, this is going to sound weird, but I like going to Starbucks and I draw.
That's not
I will spend hours and hours drawing and listening to music because it makes me feel more relaxed, knowing that I'm going to go back into the situation. Anxiety is a real thing. I mean, I never would have thought 10 years ago that I would be sitting in a room having difficulty breathing because of an exam that may determine if I move on in the program or not. And that's only due because you have a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of work to get to where you are. So that makes everything super sensitive and super hypersensitive. And that allows the anxiety to breathe.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but that's the nature of that beast right there, dude. That's the nature of that beast. It really, I think that when you go to school, they give you the questions the way they are for a reason. Mm-hmm. Because you have to do critical thinking. You have to, you have a certain amount of stress. They put you into that stress because the stress in the real game, just like you said it, you have to learn to fail and learn how to deal with failure to then move on to be better at that job.
Exactly.
Because what the path you want to do is you want to save other human beings' lives. They may be going in a certain direction. You want to, if nobody did nothing, then they would guarantee to die. But you doing certain things as the positive thing, you're actually saving another person's life.
Right.
So, and you can carry it around heavy, or you can try to find the lightest way to think about it and to just, get better at it that way. Make that your, one of your passions, but don't let it overcome you. And now I'm being preachy. I'm sorry.
No. I think most of the thing we never touched on was you have to have a support system.
Yes.
Hands down, you are not the beginning and the end.
Therapy is important too. I'm a big advocate of therapy.
You need somebody to sit down there and just to listen.
Mental health therapy is so important. If you put it into the most extreme reference, right? Mm-hmm. Think of all the soldiers that are over, in Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever, and they're fighting overseas, and seeing actual battle. Those nurses, those doctors or whatever, and they see that actual conflict constantly. Then they come home to a much quieter, different place, and they carry that shit with them. If you do not get certain type of mental health help, I think then they become casualties of that same war, but mentally. And if now we know more about it, looking back during Vietnam, World War II, World War I, they called it shell shock. And we know it now as PTSD. If you didn't deal with those things, that also can kill you. Your brain can kill you, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that, like you said, it's good to have a good foundation, and even going to get mental health help, 110% is very important.
That's the thing. So many people hear the word psychiatrist and automatically think, well, I'm not crazy. I don't need, listen, let me tell you something. We all can use one.
Yeah.
Every one of us all, because we vary on different degrees.
Of course. Yeah. 110% agree. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to get to our last beer, and we're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
All right. And we're back. So I always like to end every podcast off with a toast. Our last drink is actually going to be a craft beverage, but we'll get into it in a minute. So, my last toast is a simple one. It's a holiday toast. It goes to the holidays. All 365 of them.
Exactly.
L'chaim. Oh, that's good. So this, last beverage that's technically a homebrew
No true words have been spent. That's true.
They were having as a holiday drink, but there's no alcohol in it. It's called sorrel.
Mm-hmm. Sorrow.
Sorrow.
It comes with a strips.
Now, I have a question for you. How do you make sorrel?
Well, sorrel basically is just like any other plant. It gets dried, and then you boil it. You extract all the essence of it. Once you boil it, you pretty much add some spices and season to flavor. Other than that, you chill it and you drink it, and that's it. This is the life essence of Trinidadian blood. It's not in blood.
Well, Jamaicans have sorrel too, and Guyanese people, right? They do make it.
Yes, but right now I want to pick on Trinidadians.
Okay. Sorrel is like a hibiscus tea. It's a herbal tea made from a fusion of crimson and deep magenta colored, I can't even pronounce this, calycils of roselle flower. It can be consumed hot and cold, tart, and has a cranberry-like flavor.
It does.
It does have a cranberry-like flavor. Have you ever put vodka in sorrel?
My boy. I put vodka in a lot of things.
I just thought about that just now. I was like, this is like, but you do add sugar to it.
Yes.
Right.
It's basically you're seasoning it to how you want it. There are a lot of people who like it just straight up.
Right.
Some people add ginger
I can taste ginger in this one.
Right.
You
Because
know,
we did shred some ginger and put it in there as well.
I'm going to make a beer out of sorrel. I want to do it because I think I love this flavor, especially your mom's. Like, I love your mom's flavors. And I thought if I took this sugar and then I just like fermented it, like this would be a dope ass beer. And it'd be a red beer.
I'm patiently waiting for you to make some good old fashioned Viking mead. I mean, like syrup type mead.
No, I don't. It's in my house. I already made it.
All right, cool.
It just takes a long time.
I will not leave this planet until I have it.
Well, the next time you come to New York, or again, I could always send it to you. Well, no, I don't think it's legal, but that's okay. I can figure something out.
Before.
We'll figure a way to get it to you. Yeah, I have some at home. I literally have 5 gallons sitting in a bucket for the past few months. Excuse me. I should have took it off the yeast already, which, you know, that's my bad, but it's just been super busy at work. That's why this podcast is kind of taking a hit, like as far as episodes, and I'm just here recording as many episodes. So
it's okay.
Whatever order that this episode comes out in.
It's okay.
Yeah, this is, you know, I went from having my computer getting crashed and totally fucked to like this new computer that I ended up having to buy and then new job and all crazy shit. So it's been nuts. Right. So I'm going to get back into the steady flow of having episodes out. What episode this will be, I'm not exactly sure.
The church is always open.
It's always open. And, you know, we do, if anybody's at this point listening to this episode at this point, we do like everybody to, you know, like and subscribe. Definitely, if you want to put comments down, comment. If there's anything you'd like us to talk about, any beers you'd like us to try, we'll go out and we'll find it. You know,
if you don't like me, go fuck yourself. But leave it in comments and subscribe. I love you all.
Oh man. Yeah. So it's one of the things that we want to make sure that we're out there and kind of, you know, it's a space for everybody for the most part. I think that that's with any drink. You can have some asshole that believes in one thing and I could be my asshole on my subject or whatever it is, you know, conservative, liberal, moderate, whatever the fuck you are. All those people, if you sit down and you have a beer or a drink or any type of cocktail, you know, people are people. And that's what this is all about. Right. Us getting to know each other in all different walks of life.
It was also great to, even during the holiday season, to get to see you again, get to see your family. And, you know,
thank you.
Remember all the ways we used to be yesteryear.
Once upon a time, back when we was kids.
You know, and we didn't get to see everybody that we know, but that's just like any other trip.
Yeah, of course.
You can plan, and then nothing happens in the way you want it.
Yeah.
But it's those that you did get to see and hang out, and that's what's important.
That is important. We did kind of sit down before, and I guess maybe we'll release it as something extra. But, you know, it was me and Dean just talking about, we went to go see Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker.
The tirade of Skywalker.
We got into a big geeky conversation because that's true. Oh, Dean's phone. Put it on vibrate.
I can no longer control it. It's got a mind of its own.
I love how you swing your hand in the air like, keep going. That's like, I'm going to record this shit anyway, man.